Salutations, mortals and children of the night. I am the Vampire Otaku, and this time I'd like to talk about the magic of Initial D. And it is a magical thing, from manga to anime to video games and to all the influences in between, from street racing to an entire racing series dedicated to the man who inspired the show and the show who inspired millions. So strap in your harness, get your helmet on, put your fireproof gloves on, get your Alpine Star shoes on. Let's get into it. Initial D is a seinen manga about street racing on mountain passes, also known as the Toge. The manga was created in 1995 by Shuichi Shigino and ended in 2013 with 48 volumes in Japan and 33 volumes in America. We didn't get the full series, but we got a decent chunk before Tokyo Pop lost their license. It ended short because Tokyo Pop didn't renew their contract with Kodansha. Initial D is out of print and very expensive to own. You can read all 48 volumes digitally. I'm now going to show you all of the current volumes that I have of Initial D. I don't have all 33, but I tried to get as many as I could. And as a bonus, I also have one Japanese volume of Shuichi's new series, MF Ghost. So I'll show you all those. We'll talk about all the cards on all the covers, and we can nerd out, we can geek out a little bit about, each volume. Starting with the first volume, we have the first volume of the Japanese version of Initial D. And the difference between these versus the Tokyo Pop versions, you get the characters in front of the cars as well. So this is the main character, Takumi Fujiwara. And this is the spine. And this is the back. The cool thing about the Japanese version of this manga and many other mangas is you get a really cool slip cover. And you can take this off and you get like a black and white version of the color cover, and you get the same thing with the back of the book. These Japanese versions are pretty much the same size as their English counterparts. Now in front of this you have Bunta Fujiwara, which is Takumi's dad. This is his Torino Sprinter AEA6, or in America this is Toyota Corolla GTS. In Japan this car got a little bit more horsepower, but it was relatively similar, but this one got the better engine and better tuning and whatnot. So this was the car to get, this is the one to want. This is the first volume of the English release of Initial D. This is Keisuke Takahashi's FD RX-7, and that's the spine. This is the back. Much more focus on the cars with these additions. I love this shiny D on some of these, very nice. And I love the shine of the silver on the spines. This is volume 2 with the R32 Skyline. This car was called Godzilla because the way that it dominated all of the races that it was in when it came out. It really pulled Nissan to a new height in its racing pedigree, and it really cemented Nissan as its own company because it partnered up with another company called Prince Motor Works, or Prince Motors. And this separated it and really made the company stand out. This was a brilliant car, definitely ahead of its time. This is volume 3. Now some of these volumes aren't in the best condition, but I did the best that I could getting the best volumes that I could, and sometimes I just settled because I just wanted to get as many as I could. So this is Takumi's AEA6 versus I forgot the guy's name, but he's the leader of the Night Kids crew, and he's driving his R32 Skyline GTR. This is volume 4, and this particular Initial D is really cool because it comes with the card. I don't have it in there, unfortunately, but it came with the card. These mangas had collectible cards, and they were really cool and very well detailed. The car on here is an EG hatch Honda Civic, and that guy was a crazy person to race against. He was kind of suicidal. He was like, if I can't win, we're both gonna crash. So that's Takumi, and I also forgot his name. He's with the Night Kids as well. He's like the number 2. Volume 5. This is Keisuke Takahashi's older brother, Ryusuke Takahashi. This is his FC RX-7. This one has a card, but I don't have the card, unfortunately. I think a few of my volumes have the cards, and if I do, I'll show them. This was a really fun race because Ryusuke calculates his every move, and Takumi races off of feel and instinct. So it was really interesting to see their styles go head to head. These are also really fun. This is volume 5. I'm sorry, this is volume 6. And this is Mako. I forgot her friend, but they were a pair of street racers, and they had a rally style where the girl in the passenger seat would look out for everything and make sure there's no oncoming traffic and debris in the road, and she would act as a rally co-pilot while the driver could just focus on being as fast as they can. So that was a really interesting way to show a little bit of rally pedigree, even though this manga wasn't really about rally. She's driving they call it a SIL 80. So it's in America it's the 180 SX, and the front of it is a Silvia, so it's a Nissan. Very popular with drifting. I think it's a nice car. The prices are ridiculous on them. Here we have the younger brother Keisuke Takahashi racing with his FD RX-7, and leader of the Night Kids with his R32 Skyline GTR. Oh, this is the 3DS RX-7 FD. This is a very fun race. Does this have a card? Yes, this has a card in the back. So, card kind of looks like that. Books are so old I don't want to take them out because I'm afraid that they'll be damaged. But I'm glad to have a few cards left over. So this is volume 7. Volume 8 has an Evo. I don't remember which Evo this is. It's a Mitsubishi Evolution. I want to say it's a 5 or 6. If you know, get in the comments below and tell me. I didn't get a chance to research as much as I wanted to, but this car is 4-wheel drive system. Very sophisticated for its time. It has a lot of power despite being a 4-cylinder. It's turbocharged, and the guy, I want to see if I can show you. The guy who owns this car, it's a fun story. Basically, the pair of them go around racing everybody in every city, and every time they beat someone, they take their sticker and they tear it in half and put it on a giant spoiler, a giant wing on the back of their car. It's pretty disrespectful. But being from Detroit myself, I find it funny that this character looks like, to me, I don't know, there's some memes about it. He kind of looks like Eminem, Marshall Mathers from like the early 2000s. And he's got like the do-rag and everything. It's insane. But these races are really fun. Not too many spoilers, but I think the story really begins to change when Takumi Fujiwara meets the guys that drive these Mitsubishi Evolutions. Here we have Takumi racing against the Mitsubishi Evolution. This might be an Evo 4, because the other guy I think drives the Evo 3, so possibly. Anyway, not much to say about it. I think this cover is beautiful. I think all the covers are really beautiful, and this manga has a great sense of speed. This is the spine. This is the back. Do I have a... no card. Somebody definitely took that card up. I haven't been keeping track, but this is volume 10. Volume 10. Now Takumi Fujiwara is racing against the older Mitsubishi Evolution. I believe this is the Evolution 3. And the guy with the older black Mitsubishi Evolution is the guy that looks like Eminem. And he has more skill and more patience. And he definitely pushed Takumi Fujiwara to his limit as far as his racing capability. This is the spine. No card in this one. Here we have volume 11. We have Ryusuke Takahashi racing against the Mitsubishi Evolution. We'll say it's 3. Hopefully I'm not wrong. And again, really fun times reading these and watching the anime as well. We'll get to the anime in a bit though. It's going to be kind of a lengthy video. Volume 12, we have Takumi Fujiwara's, well actually Bunta Fujiwara's 8886 Trueno just racing along. You have the iconic, this and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like you have some action happening, the action being that the car is in movement, and then you have giant characters in the background. It looks so iconic. Like it's like in a comic book when a character like the Flash or Wolverine or Spider-Man does like a swing or an attack, and you see BAM or SPLAT in giant letters in the background. This is kind of like that for me. So this is the spine. Also love how there's a little piece of each car on the spine. Really cool. I do hate the inconsistency of the Tokyo Pop symbols on the side. Sometimes they're big and red and sometimes they're kind of small. So it doesn't look that great on the bookshelf, but knowing how rare it is makes your bookshelf look sweet. If you know, you know. This one's cool. This is Takumi Fujiwara 8886 Trueno versus 8886 Levin. So the Levin version doesn't have pop-up headlights, they're fixed lights. And it was really interesting to see both of these similar cars race. They both get their power, their horsepower and their torque in different ways. And both of these drivers are totally different styles of drivers. And these races were very fun to watch and to read. No card in this one. I'd like to call this volume, which volume is this? 14, Redemption. This is a rematch, and this is the Evo 3, I believe, versus Takumi's 886. Really fun races. Here's a beautiful spine. Here's the back. Honestly, this is probably one of my better conditions for my initial Ds. And this is my all-time favorite volume of Initial D. This is my favorite car of all time. One of my favorite characters in the anime and the manga. This is Kai Kogashiwa. This is his dad's MR2 SW20, normally aspirated MR2, Toyota MR2. Very long name. It's really interesting that the non-turbo version is in this manga. It has a 3S GE engine, and it's almost as light as Takumi's 8886, but again, it gets its power in a totally different way. They're both Toyotas, but this one's like a 91 or 92, and this 8886 is from the 80s. This MR2 has the engine in the back, and it's rear-wheel drive, so it gets a lot of traction, especially off the line, but once it starts to slide, it kind of has a tendency to want to continue to slide. And if you overcorrect it and counter steer too much, kind of acts like a semi-truck's trailer when it jackknifes. It just kind of whips back really hard. So it's a handful. But I love the characteristics of this car. I love how happy it looks. Like, this car is kind of dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, but it looks happy and it looks kind of adorable. So These races are also really fun because Takumi is using his dad's car and Kai is using his dad's car. So neither one of them want to wreck their cars. This is a very close race, and no spoilers, but the ending was kind of plot devicey for me. But I still really enjoyed this volume, and I really enjoyed these episodes. Volume 16, another Toyota. This is the Toyota Celica GT4. This is the 6th generation of the Toyota Celica. It has the same, well actually I wouldn't say the same. This has the 3S GTE turbocharged engine. This is in the turbo version of the Toyota MR2. This car is 4-wheel drive, and you can see the snow on the ground. And you got Takumi Fujiwara chasing him down with just a rear-wheel drive, a front engine rear-wheel drive, car. And the fact that he's keeping up with him is just amazing. It just shows his capability. This is, I believe, the start of the 3rd stage in the anime, and it's mostly a movie, and the storyline shifts off of racing and more into the characters' past and their past catching up to them. It really made it fun to watch, and it gave you a break from just race after race after race. So this was really fun. You have the spine. And to see snow was really cool because most of the races were just nighttime, good weather. So they're drifting in the snow, which is really cool. Next, we have a car that is just, I want to say, the king of memes. Like, this is the MX-5 NA Mazda Miata, one of the happiest looking cars with the adorable pop-up headlights, super small, no horsepower, no torque. It's got like a 1.6 liter engine, and then you can get the 1.8 liter engine, and it makes like 120, 130 horsepower. It's not much at all, give or take a few numbers. Super fun car, super fun character. This guy borrows money from his girlfriend to get new tires so he could keep racing. He's addicted to it, and he's spending everything that he has just to keep doing it. And it's a little sad. I won't give too many spoilers. I already gave a few. But these are really fun races, and these are really fun. This is a really fun character. You got Takumi in the back chasing him down. I will say that racing this Miata was different for Takumi Fujiwara because most of the races, Takumi had the lighter car, but the Miata is lighter than the AE86. So Takumi felt like he was at a disadvantage, but really he just needed to race differently and think differently. I haven't been keeping up. This is volume 18. We have Keisuke Takahashi's RX-7 FD versus, I believe this is a Nissan Skyline GTT. It's the rear-wheel drive version. I don't believe this is the GTR. This is a really fun race. They called him the Godfoot. He just could dance with the 3 pedals. When you drive stick shift, you have the clutch, the brake, and the gas. And he's using all 3 of them, and he's just finessing it, making it look like a beautiful ballet. And he's like this big burly guy with this big burly car. The Nissan Skyline isn't a small car. Amazing to watch this race, and amazing to read it. No, that's not the spine. Here's the spine. Here's the back. No card. Here we have volume 19. We have, I think they're called the Toto School. They all use Honda cars, and most of them use Honda Civic Type Rs. And I think one of the students ended up using an Integra. I think it was a turbocharged Integra. So this was a crazy point of the story. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I will say that this was a very fun race. Takumi Fujiwara definitely stepped it up as a racer. And it was really cool to see some front wheel drives get some love, because most of the cars in this series have been rear wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. So the front wheel drive cars were really interesting. There was a EG hatch that was front wheel drive, but other than that, everything else was rear wheel drive and all wheel drive or 4-wheel drive. This is the Integra I was talking about with the carbon fiber hood. Keisuke Takahashi. So Keisuke, he was doing more uphill races on the Toge, and Takumi was doing the downhill. He's a downhill specialist. So this having the turbocharger kind of helped elevate it up those, hills, pushed it up there. with the forced induction. And Keisuke has a turbocharger as well. It actually has a twin turbo. And the RX-7 is a light car, so it's always fun to see the dynamics of what his car can do in his driving style. Here's the spine. Here's the back. No card in this one. We are getting... I love this volume so much, and it's one of my most damaged volumes. We have Keisuke's FD RX-7 3DS, and then I forgot her name, but she also has a FD RX-7. It's just a really cool volume, really cool episodes to watch. I hope you check it out. These are fun. My spine is really damaged, kind of got pilled right there. And yeah, it's just a really beat up version. Things got stained on the back too. I tried to clean it up, but it is what it is. A very out of print series, and one day I will replace this, but I really enjoy reading it. And the last Initial D volume that I own is volume 24, right? Volume 24. This one was really fun. It's Takumi Fujiwara and his AE86 versus a Suzuki Cappuccino. If you know, you know. Suzuki Cappuccino is what we call a K car. K cars are usually designated with 660 cc's, almost a motorcycle engine, 3 cylinders. A lot of them are turbocharged. You had the ABC cars, so you had the Mazda AZ1, which had really cool gull wing doors that opened up like that. It was a very beautiful car. It looked very exotic, but it was pocket size. And Honda made the Honda Beat, so you have the AZ1, which is A, the Honda Beat, which is B. The Honda Beat, I think probably was the most fun to drive out of the 3. I haven't driven any of them, but just the way that I have seen videos of it, it seems like it revs really nicely. And it also seems like the seating position is more fun, like more comfortable to go faster in. I could be wrong. Maybe the AZ1 is more fun, or maybe the Cappuccino is more fun. Just my opinion. Oh, also, the Honda Beat has these crazy zebra print seats. They're really cool looking. And the C car is the Suzuki Cappuccino. So Suzuki Cappuccino is, you can get it a hardtop or you can get it as a convertible. Same with the Honda Beat, and the AZ1 just has the gull wing doors. So this race was really fun. I got in a tangent a little bit. The Cappuccino is much lighter, much smaller, and much more nimble. So Takumi had a really tough time. This car is smaller than the Miata. So Takumi was really trying to figure out how he could out-corner, because Takumi's specialty is taking really elegant, really fast turns. But this car was doing everything better. No spoilers, but you know, it kind of worked out. This is the spine. This is the back. There's no card. And those are my Initial Ds. We have one volume of MF Ghost, which is the new series from the Initial D creator. I love it. It's like a spiritual successor, and it also has old characters from Initial D. So Initial D had the Toyota AE86. MF Ghost has the Toyota GT86, which is a spiritual successor to that older iconic Corolla. But this car started its life off as a Scion FRS, and then it became the Toyota GT86. And it's also known as the Subaru BRZ. This car has a Boxer Subaru engine, so it doesn't have a Toyota engine anymore, but it has a similar spirit. It's pretty lightweight. It's a sports car, but it doesn't have a lot of power, but it's tossable and it's fun. This particular GT86 had a pretty bad torque curve, so you get a little bit of power, then it would just go flat. So a lot of people didn't enjoy this car unless you supercharged it or turbocharged it, or just tuned it better to get rid of that bad torque curve. There's a newer version of this car. It's the GR86, and they fixed a lot of those issues, so I heard. I haven't driven the GR86. I've driven the BRZ, and the torque curve really sucks, and I don't like how soft the clutch is I wish the clutch had more bite to it, and I also wish it engaged a little bit lower. It engages really high, and it kind of feels like I can breathe on it and it will depress. Like there's not a lot of bite to it. But let's talk about this manga, which is getting an anime soon. I read this digitally and I wanted to support, and I really want this to get printed in English. So I went ahead and bought a copy. I might even buy a few more just to show more support, because we don't have enough car oriented mangas or animes here, but we're getting a few animes this season, so I'm really excited about that. So let's just talk about the story. So the story is basically, which is a story I love. Electric cars are taking over and gasoline cars are a dying breed. This is a race to celebrate the finest drivers and the finest gasoline driven vehicles. And you have Lamborghinis, you have Porsches, you have BMWs, you have Alfa Romeo, and then you got this dude and a freaking Toyota GT86. So he corners, crazy like Takumi Fujiwara. While he's racing, he's noticing that he could get more speed if he's able to turn the traction control off. So he does that. He's keeping up with the Alfa Romeo 4C. He kept up with, there's another car he kept up with that was pretty similar to the 4C. Oh, the Lotus. I think it was the Lotus Elise. He was keeping up with a lot of cars that were supposed to be faster. There's another guy. So there are different people that represent different countries, and then you have the BMWs, you have the Porsches. Porsches are the fastest ones here. The Ferraris are trying to keep up. Lamborghini is kind of having a tough time because it's a little heavy. And then representing Japan, you got this guy, and then you have another guy driving the GTR R35. So it's a newer rendition, the only one that we got in America. So that is MF Ghost. And with that being said, I would love to talk about the magic of Initial D, because I've spent most of our time talking about the manga. So bear with me. There's so much to cover, because this anime and manga and idea has been around since the mid-90s, and it has made waves in Europe, Japan, America. Wherever there is any type of motorsport or car enthusiast, this anime has hit the hearts of so many. I'll start off with saying that this manga had the power to make a Toyota Corolla, the AE86, popular enough to the point where when it first came out, it was around $10,000, and now $25,000 will get you a decent one. The 4A GE powered hatchback and coupe. It came in two different versions, and there was also a rally variant too, which is really interesting. It was driven by the main character Takumi Fujiwara and his dad Bunta Fujiwara. This car was the underdog in the series because it was underpowered and older than its rivals. We had all the cars that I talked about, the RX-7s, the Miata, Nissan Silvia, MR2, Celica GT4, the ZZW30 MR2 Spider, which Kai Kogashiwa later used. He got his own car, and his dad, his dad took the SW20 back. Many legendary cars in this manga. This manga showed the difference in drivetrain. You got front engine, rear wheel drive. You got front engine, front wheel drive. You got four-wheel drive and rear engine, rear wheel drive. And it really showed the behaviors and the difference between all of these different drivetrains and chassis. Some were really rigid, and some, had a little body roll. Like, they were really detailed in this manga. They showed you in the panels and the drawings with the sense of speed and the lean of the car. It was incredible. Way ahead of its time. Let's see. This manga also showed how cars behave when they're pushed to their limits. When a car needed to brake for its turn, some cars needed to brake earlier, some needed to brake later because some cars were heavier. It showed that. It showed how nimble a light car can be, which was important because it made the main character Takumi Fujiwara worry. This car is lighter. Even if you don't know about cars, it's physics. the heavier an object is, the more force and the more power it takes to stop. So with that in mind, you have these bigger, more powerful cars, they're overtaking Takumi on straights. As soon as you get to a turn, Takumi's right on that bumper. Like, oh, you thought you were going somewhere. You thought because my car was older and less powerful that you were going to escape me. So that was so fun to watch. I'm on the edge of my seat looking at that. It was really iconic also to see the two brothers in the series, Keisuke Takahashi and Ryusuke Takahashi. They were also known as the Rotary Brothers. They both drove RX-7s. The older brother drove the older RX-7, which is known as the FC. It was a boxier style, and it was a little bit derived off of a certain Porsche model and its styling. And then you had the younger brother, he drove the FD RX-7. And the characteristics of both cars kind of showed the characteristics in both characters. You had flames coming out the back of the exhaust with the FD, and Keisuke was a spicy character. One of my favorite characters in the series. The manga made many cars more popular, which led to a lot of aftermarket support. You know how crazy that is? You have a cartoon, you have a comic book that gets so popular that it makes cars' prices go higher, that it makes the support for those cars higher. There's more fans of the cars. People are like, wow, after reading this, I want to go out and buy that. Literally me, I'm people. I literally bought one of the cars in the manga because I loved it and the characters so much. Let's talk about the anime. The Initial D anime came out in 1998 and it ended in 2014. 6 seasons. The third season was a movie. Now, each season was called a stage. And the anime had 2 different dubs and 1 original Japanese sub. I say subs because, that's how I watch it. I can't watch an anime without subs, unfortunately. Trying to learn Japanese, but it's a struggle. There was also a live action movie, which like most live action animes wasn't received well. The anime had a unique and iconic style, and also iconic music, which is known as Eurobeat. It seemed to really convey the excitement of the nighttime drives and the nighttime races on the mountain passes. They raced all over Japan. 2 memorable places for me were Gunma and Akina. Akina was like the first place where Takumi was delivering tofu, because that was his job. That's how he got his skills. He would deliver tofu as fast as he could. The tofu was very delicate, so he would take these sharp turns very delicately so the tofu didn't get damaged. He could also maintain his speed without being too harsh on the corner. He didn't realize he was being trained to be an extremely fast driver. The detail of the cars improved with each stage, and the cool thing about the anime was they used actual real sounds for the cars. So when you heard Takumi and Bunta's AE86, that was the actual sound of the engine and the exhaust. We'll get to that in a little bit later part of the video. The tail lights would blur, which was an amazing thing to see. You get such an amazing sense of speed as you go farther into the anime, because I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 stages were kind of rough to look at. They were very old. Technology wasn't that great back then. Now, I can't really talk about Initial D without talking about the magic of Keiichi Tsuchiya. He's a pro racer known for his drifting style, sliding his car to first place. He's known as the Drift King. He is a 2-time 24 Hours of Le Mans class winner and 2001 All Japan GT Championship runner-up. Although his favorite car is the AE86, which inspired the Initial D anime and manga, he raced professionally a lot with an Honda NSX. He was a huge inspiration for Initial D and a consultant. He was also a stunt coordinator and stuntman for the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift movie. That guy is iconic. He's still around making YouTube videos. He tests out cars. He's very funny. He's very charismatic. And he's old school. He really enjoys the stick shift and being one with the car. And I love that. I also enjoy stick shifts. And I just think he would be such a cool dude to hang out with. Okay, so let's talk about Initial D video games. Initial D games started in 1998 with an arcade style racing style. They were either on an arcade cabinet or a game console. Initial D had a turn-based RPG game called Another Stage, which is super unique for a racing game. As the Initial D games started to become Japan exclusives in the later 2000s, fans began to make their own versions. I recently went to an anime convention called Anime Detour, and I played Initial D Special Stage. I think that's what it's called, the Special Stage. It has like PS3 style graphics. It was an arcade cabinet. It was amazing. I'll put some footage somewhere in here. But it was so fun to shift the gears on the left side as if I'm driving on the right side of the car. And when I was playing that game, I'm used to driving stick shift in real life, and there wasn't a third pedal for the clutch, and I forgot that these arcade games only have 2 pedals. So I kept reaching for it and I kept missing my shifts. It was hilarious. Okay, so let's talk about the impact and the influence that Initial D had on the entire world. First, it was a huge influence on a lot of animes and really everything in between. This is the real magic of the series, the way that it sprinkled itself into shows and things that had nothing to do with cars. It was infectious. It was in Steven Universe, in the episode entitled Beach City Drift, where the Eurobeat style music played and there was a pedal angled camera just like Initial D. And Kevin and Stevani raced on a Mount Akina inspired road. Lucky Star anime had an Initial D scene where Yui gets passed by a yellow FD-RX-7, similar to Keisuke Takahashi's, and they race. Yui has a cup of water in her cup holder, balancing around just like Takumi Fujiwara. Initial D inspired car games like Gran Turismo, Forza, and also Need for Speed. These games put the AE86 in the game with the decal on the side that says Fujiwara Tofu. This manga also influenced Komi Can't Communicate, which is, a newer manga, which is amazing. This manga's been around since the 90s and it's still influencing everybody. The logo could be found from Initial D on an arcade cabinet that Komi was playing. On the side of it said Initial M, which was really interesting. Initial D has inspired many Americans and Europeans to buy 90s Japanese cars. It inspired me to buy a 1991 Toyota SW20 MR2. It was normally aspirated, and I put so much love and care and work into that car. I didn't work on it personally because I'm not the greatest at working on cars, but I put every dollar that I could, eating ramen, eating the cheapest food, living below my means, just to get a new turbo, to get a new ECU, a standalone ECU, BC coilovers. I got Ray's TE37 wheels. I did so much to that car, and it's my baby, and I put so much into it that I don't really have access to it anymore. Like, being a car enthusiast is a black hole for your wallet. Don't do it. I lost a lot of money working on that car, and my dream was to get some track time with it, but I'm not gonna give up on it. We're gonna get some type of car one day to get some track time with, and it's all because of Initial D. I had the dream to be a race car driver as a kid, and I never pursued it. It was just in the back of my head, like, God, I wish I had the racing suit, which this is, fireproof suit, fireproof gloves, the helmet. I wanted to learn how to drive stick shift, but I never did. And Initial D was the thing that really got me to try. Like, hey, get a car you like, learn how to drive stick shift, get some parts for it, learn as much as you can and just get some track time. So if it wasn't for Initial D, I would have never tried. I would have never even thought that it was possible to even start. That being said, the magic is that this comic and cartoon moved the world, and it made people like cars a little bit more. It made people that didn't care about cars start really thinking about cars, like having double takes. Oh my God, is that a Supra? Oh my God, is that a Corolla GTS? Is that an AE86? And it really made people think about motorsport. Before this, motorsport was almost a prestigious thing, almost a foreign thing. The Italians, the Japanese, NASCAR. The average person would watch it sometimes and just be like, that's cool. But this, for some reason, at least for me personally, I felt like I can do that. I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. And it made drifting a sport, of course, along with Keiichi Tsuchiya. He's the one who pioneered and pushed it. But this popularized it in such a unique and amazing way. Also, the Initial D memes are top tier, just as good as JoJo. Thanks for listening to me ramble about Initial D. I love this anime, I love this manga, I love cars, and it's not vampire content, it's not really fully manga content, but this show, this idea, this story is amazing, and I'm just happy to talk about it. Later.